addictions. We passed the gun safety law, making historical investments in mental health. We launched the ARPA 8 drive for breakthroughs in the fight against cancer, Tide, Amazon, and diabetes, and so much more. We passed the Health Robinson PAC Act, named after the late Iraqi war veteran whose story about exposure to toxic burns pits a share here last year. And I understand something about these burn pits, but there is so much more to do, and we can do it together. Joining us tonight is a father named Doug from Newton, New Hampshire. He wrote Jill, my wife, a letter, and me as well, about his courageous daughter, Courtney, a cognitive language, her sister's best friend. He shared a story all too familiar to millions of Americans and many of you in the audience. Courtney's discovered pills in her high school. It spiraled into addiction and eventually death from a fentanyl overdose. She was just 20 years old. Describing the last 8 years without her, Doug said, "There is no worse pain, yet their family has turned pain into purpose, working to end the stigma and change laws. He told us he wants to share a journey toward American democracy. Doug, we're with you. Fentanyl is killing more than 70,000 Americans a year. Second, let's do more on mental health, especially for our children. When millions of young people are struggling with bullying, violence, trauma, we owe them greater access to mental health care at their school. We must finally hold social media companies accountable for experimenting they're doing, ruining on children for profit. And it's time to pass bipartisan legislation to stop big tech from collecting personal data on kids and teenagers online, but target advertising to children and impose stricter limits on the personal data that companies collect on all of us. Third, let's do more to keep this nation one fully sacred obligation to equip those we send into harm's way and care for them and their families when they come home. Job training, job placement for veterans and their spouses as they come to return to civil life, helping veterans to afford their rent because no one should be homeless in America, especially someone who served the country. Dennis McGillen then is here, of the veteran of the VA. We had our first real discussion when I asked him to take the job. I'm glad he did. We were losing up to 25 veterans a day on suicide. Now we're losing 17 a day to the slight scourge of suicide. 17 veterans a day are committing suicide, more than all the people are being killed in the wars. Folks, VA is doing everything it can, the Veteran Hospital, including expanding mental health screening, proven programs that result veterans to help other veterans understand what they're going through, get them the help they need. We got to do more. And fourth, last year, Jill and I reneged the cancer moonshot that I was able to start with President Obama, and President Obama asked me to lead our administration on the issue. Our goal is to cut the cancer death rate at least by 50% in the next 25 years, turn more cancer from death sentence to treatable diseases, provide more support for patients and their families. It's personal to so many of us in this audience. Joining us Michael and Kaden, an Irishman, and a daughter of an immigrant from Panama. They met and fell in love in New York City and got married in the same chapel as Jill and I got married in New York City. He wrote us a letter about his little daughter, Ava. And I saw her just before I came over. She was just a year old when she was diagnosed with a rare kidney disease, cancer after 26 blood transfusion, 11 rounds of radiation, 8 rounds of chaos, one kidney removed, given a 5% survival rate. He wrote how, in the darkest moments, he thought, if she goes, I can't stay. Many of you have been through that as well. Jill and I understand that, like so many of you. And he read Jill's book describing our family cancer journey and how we tried to steal moments of joy where we could. For them, that glimmer of joy was the half smile of their baby girl. It meant everything to them. They never gave up hope, and little Ava never gave up hope. She turns 4 next month. They just found out Ava is beating the odds and is on her way to being cured of cancer. And she's watching from the White House tonight, if she's not asleep already. For the lives we can save, for the lives we can save, and the lives we have lost. Let this be a truly American moment that rallies the country and the world together and prove that we can still do big things. 20 years ago, under the leadership of President Bush and countless advocates and champions, he undertook a bipartisan effort through PRAFA to transform the global fight against HIV and AIDS. It's been a huge success. He thought big, he thought large, he moved. I believe we can do the same thing with cancer. Let's end cancer as we know it and cure some cancers of once and for all. Folks, there's one reason why we've been able to do all these things. Our democracy itself is the most fundamental thing of all. With democracy, everything is possible. Without it, nothing is. Over the last years, our democracy has been threatened and attacked, put at risk, put to the test in this very room on January 6th. And then just a few months ago, an unhinged Big Lee assaults unlashed a political violence at the home of then Speaker of the House representative, using the very same language the insurrection used as they stalked these halls and chanted on January 6th. Here tonight in this chamber is the man who bears the scars of that brutal attack, but is as tough and as strong and as resilient as they get. My friend Paul Pelosi, Paul Stan. But such a heinous act should have never happened. We must all speak out. There is no place for political violence in America. We have to protect the right to vote, not suppress the right. That fundamental right honor the results of our electrons, not subvert the will of the people. We have to uphold the rule of the law and restore trust in our institution of democracy. And we must give hate the extremists in any form no safe harbor. Democracy must not be a partisan issue, and it's an American issue. Every generation of Americans have faced a moment where they have been called to protect our democracy, defend it, stand up for it, and this is our moment. My fellow American, we might tonight at We meet tonight at an infectious point, one of these moments that only a few generations ever face, where the direction we now take is going to decide the course of this nation for decades to come. We are not bystanders of history. We are not powerless before the force that confront us. Is within our power of we the people. We are facing the test of our time. We have to be the nation we've always been at our best. Optimist, hopeful, forward-looking. A nation that embraces light over dark, hope over fear, unity over division, stability over chaos. We have to see each other not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. We are a good people, the only nation in the world built on the idea, the only one. Other nations are defined by geographic ethnicity, but we are the only nation based on an idea that all of us, every one of us, is created equal in the image of God, a nation that stands as a beacon to the world, a nation in a new age of possibility. So, I have come to fulfill my constitutional obligation to report on the state of the union. And here is my report. Because the soul of this nation is strong. Because the backbone of this nation is strong. Because the people of this nation are strong. The state of the union is strong. I'm not new to this place. I stand here tonight having served as long about any one of you who have ever served here. But I've never been more optimistic about the future of America. We just have to remember who we are. We are the United States of America. And there's nothing beyond our capacity if we do it together. God bless you all, and God protect our troops. Thank you. I was inspired for Black History to do my best to deliver this State of the Union address by Joe Biden. And most important, not for me, because again, I'm getting ready for retirement. But look here, folks. You're still hurting out there with inflation and high prices at grocery stores. But think about how far we've come. Think about how chaotic things were under the last administration, under Trump. We witnessed the biggest wealth redistribution with the massive tax cuts that gave the wealthy, the middle class suffered. Joe Biden is a good man. Joe Biden is a fighter. Just like he took the fight to COVID-19 and the unemployment, he's taken the fight to inflation, and we're just beginning to see progress. Just be patient. Just be patient. So I end with this right here to the young people that will vote. That's 17 this year that will vote next year. Think about your future when you vote. I can't tell you who to vote for, and I will never try. No matter what aisle that you go down, whether it's a Democratic aisle, which is my favorite, or Republican. I quote many Republican presidents, particularly Ronald Reagan. But I'm a Democrat and I've never voted for a Republican. But that's the choices that we have in America, that we can be on one part and still admire some of the work of those of the other party. But that don't mean that, that we can't work together, because we can. But for the young people, this Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are talking about your future. I want you to take a look at it. All of us is not going to college. All of us are not from wealthy families and things of that nature. Some of us just have to pull themselves up by the bootstraps, and you can do it. You can do it under this administration, especially if he is able to get things passed, as he can get the new roads and things that they're talking about, the infrastructure, rebuilding this nation for infrastructure. Those jobs are going to last another 20, 30 years. It'll give you a chance to be my age. So God bless you, and God bless. Just take a look at it. I'm not telling you who to vote for, but you take a look, young folks, and you start thinking. You take a look and look at your future. You look at your future and you take a look. Listen to the State of the Union address for a minute, or read it over. Get the paper, get the actual messages I did the best I could, and the best I could write together, and things of that nature. But you take time to look at your future. Your life is at hand. Your life is at hand. It's your time. It just right here is what Joe Biden is talking about. It's not for me. I'm 60 years old in 3 months. In 40 years, I'll be 100, hopefully. Hopefully I'll make it. I'm looking forward to it. But at the same time, it's your time. You're young. You're starting off with your families. You're starting off with new directions. This administration needs to go back again to Washington in 2025. These people need to go back, and they need to lead us for another 4 years. God bless you, and God bless the United States. Good night.